So, let me get this straight. Well, it seems like my last video I published back on the 25th of August has got a few people bent. It was revolving around Whitney Cheatham Smith. She happens to be the stepdaughter of Elite Series pro angler Gerald Swindle. Well, it seems like her recently married husband, and her biological father have got themselves wrapped up in several felony charges surrounding a prescription drug ring that was run out of her wellness spa in Cullman, Alabama. Her husband, well, he was also busted in a sting operation by Chris Hansen for doing, what Chris Hansen busts people for. In the days since publishing the story, I've heard from two good friends of Gerald Swindle, as well as several of his fans. They all seem to think that story was intended to be a hatchet job on Gerald Swindle. I believe if you're able to remove your personal bias, you'll see that wasn't the case. But for some reason, if you still believe that way, I am truly sorry. Now, I want to be unequivocally clear about something. I said this in the last video, but apparently people weren't listening. I do not think that Whitney Cheatham's alleged felonious shenanigans should reflect poorly upon Gerald or his wife in any way, shape, or form. No, I don't think they had any part in it, and I defended that in the comment section, as well as I don't think it makes them look like bad parents. In fact, if I had to guess, they're probably losing sleep over this situation. And yes, my heart does go out to them. So if anybody out there sees my last video as a perceived attack on Gerald Swindle, I'm truly sorry, but I can assure you that's not the case. The only thing I said is I wouldn't have posed for a couple of specific pictures on social media, but I also laid out the case of why that fits into the salesmanship and personality of Gerald the G-Man Swindle. I literally laid out the case for him. And another thing, people are out there acting like I'm the one that dug this story up. No, it was actually brought to me. It was already being published on fishing forums like in posts like this one. And you remember how in the first video I told you about True Crime Mama? She has over 600,000 followers on TikTok. She was already working on the timeline, had done the FOIA for the documents. She was already deep in the weeds. It was already a story, folks. And even then, people are saying this isn't a fishing story. That's where
I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
The real issue is that in the year 2025, folks have forgotten what actual hard journalism is all about. They're used to everything being instant oatmeal. Well, the good stuff isn't instant. And yes, you have Bassmasters and Wired to Fish. Once upon a time, Bassmasters dealt with a couple of controversial issues, but not for a long time. Why? They have a product to sell, a certain image to promote, so they're going to steer away from controversial issues. The closest thing you have to real journalism in 2025 would be in Fisherman. But even then, it's not hard journalism. It's more of a scientific journal. But in my opinion, one of the best publications still left on the market. My vision for this channel is that we help raise the bar on what news reporting is supposed to be in the sport of fishing. And it's why I spend my time and money in researching the stories that I bring to you. I've covered things like local environmental situations, angler access, yes, local and national tournament cheaters. I try to cover the gambit. I even throw in some educational stuff here and there. And you know what allows me to do that? The fact I'm an independent journalist. I'm not beholden to any organization or to have to toe their company line. And when it comes to the sport of professional fishing, professional anglers for years have referred to themselves as professional athletes on everything from their social media accounts, their LinkedIn pages, and sure as hell their resumes. They want the big payouts and the big sponsorship deals, but they don't want to pay any entry fees. It seems like they want all the benefits of being a professional athlete with next to none of the responsibilities. Not all of them, but it seems like a lot of them have kind of become entitled. In contrast, pro athletes in other sports, well, they're actually required to talk to the media. And they're also required to treat both their organizations and their fans with respect, even show some civility to each other. But when pro anglers and their fans start coming at a professional journalist and telling them how to do their job, that's when we get to go back to school. That brings us to lesson number 1. Do you remember when Matt Robertson and his fans got super salty whenever I covered the hot mic moment between him and Ben Milliken, when they were discussing who might have made a protest that eventually led to another angler leaving bass. Boy, were they pissed off about that. What's odd is, it was those very same fans that a couple videos prior were demanding that I actually out who it was that made the protest. You can't make it up and you can't satisfy them. Now, if you want to draw a perfect parallel to another professional sport, look at Pat Beverly of the NBA. Do you know one time he got in an S-load of trouble for refusing to do an interview with an ESPN producer unless they subscribed to his podcast? Interesting. Professional athlete, professional angler. Now on to lesson 2. Remember when Ben Milliken was popped for not having a fishing license and tournament fraud with the whole Sherlunker program out in Texas? Boy, his fans come after me with pitchforks. But how much you want to bet it was those same folks that were hanging Robbie Rose by his balls whenever he got popped for tournament fraud out of the state of Texas? And if you want to compare professional sports, how about a similar situation in NASCAR? Remember when Kurt Busch was popped for DUI? Driving, fishing. Next. And that brings us to lesson number 3. Remember when I told you that people said that the Whitney Cheatham story was out of bounds because it had nothing to do with Gerald Swindle or the sport of fishing? Despite the fact he's her stepdad and she even rented a booth at a bass event to promote her business, the one that's in trouble now? Well, it reminds me of a guy by the name of Marcus Jordan. I mean, don't know the name off the top of my head. But this guy was busted for DUI in possession of nose candy when he was caught after running his Lamborghini aground on some railroad tracks in the state of Florida. And then there was this guy named Raja Jackson. He jumped into a wrestling ring just last week and nearly beat a dude to death. Literally, the guy was choking on his own blood and teeth. But don't know him off the top of my head, but both those guys, Marcus Jordan and Raja Jackson, you might know their fathers, the great Michael Jordan and Rampage Jackson. So why were those stories? Only because of who their fathers were. These professional anglers put the most intimate details of themselves and their families on social media for everyone to see. Sometimes they show us the best of themselves. Sometimes they show us the worst. But when it comes to living up to the moniker of a professional athlete, sometimes they just recoil from those same standards that a real professional athlete has to live up to. And a lot of these same anglers like to talk about how negative social media is. Meanwhile, at least one of them had his pregnant baby mama twerking and jiggling her pregnant belly up against a boat and a rod and stuff. And I mean, seriously? Then they and their fans have the audacity and hypocrisy to bitch about how the spotlight is shining on them at that moment. Are we serious? It's like the idiot that's stuck in traffic bitching about how people in front of him won't move. But when he gets up even with the accident, he's rubbernecking like, "Can I see a dead body?" In reality, the real issue these people have is with their own personal bias. It's not with journalism or even with me. You know how I know? If you go to the description section that's below the title to this video, you'll see a word that says more. Click on that and guess what you'll find? You'll find 8 other playlists on this channel that have zero to do with fishing news or fishing drama. Zero. Zilch nada. Do these complainers, bitchers, and moaners, do they ever watch those? No. Why? Because they want to come to the fishing news and piss and moan and bitch there. Now, do some professional anglers hold themselves to a standard of what I would consider a professional athlete to be? Absolutely. Bass just lost one, for example, Matty Wong. At the end of the day, I just want this sport to be better than it is today, here in 2025. I think the sport has lost its way. So, do I apologize for the stories I bring to you guys? I would like to take this moment and apologize to absolutely fucking nobody. If I don't do these stories, nobody else will. And on that note, I want to thank each and every single one of you for being here and watching today. A special thanks goes out to all my channel members. I couldn't do without you guys. Please, folks, leave a like, comment, share this video and subscribe. Even maybe consider becoming a member. And do me a favor, until next time we meet, grab your gear, get out there on the water, and keep it wet.
Yo, it's a real tackle, let's get to the facts. I don't sugarcoat nothing, I'm spitting the max. You think I'm holding back? Nah, better step back. I'm dropping lines like